I mean, come on, 8 million people crossing in the last 3 years. It's just getting out of hand.
We don't support people coming in and crossing the river and staying here in the United States. I think those people should be sent back.
From the border town of Eagle Pass, Democratic city leaders voicing both exasperation and desperation at the unabated flow of immigrants through their community, adding exponentially to the frustration, the response of the so-called leader of the free world.
Done all I can do. Just give me the power. I've asked for the very day I got in office.
As if that deeply disingenuous claim wasn't bad enough, the bipartisan border security measure being hashed out for months appears now to be dead on arrival before it's even been released and reviewed. That's because former President Trump has signaled he'd prefer the current debacle continue rather than accept a compromise. Texas Congressman Dan Crenshaw called that tactic a betrayal.
We have a bill that, on net, significantly decreases illegal immigration. And we sabotage that. That is inconsistent with what we told our voters we would do.
Panel, in addition to the Republican governors, we've also had ad hoc caravans of citizen activists make their way to Eagle Pass. Bob Price, you've been watching this. What is going down?
So many things to cover in so little time. First off, on Congressman Crenshaw's comment, he's probably right that the Congress needs to get some kind of a bill, but this is obviously a bad bill because they won't even bring out the text and let anybody look at it. This is going to be another one of those multi-thousand-page bills that you have to vote for it before you can read it, and it's not. The president has the power right now to fix this problem. He created it on January 21st with an intentional signing of documents, doing away with all of the very successful policies that were put in place by President Donald Trump that reduced border crossings by 95% in his last full fiscal year in office. Since then, we've seen it go up. The rumors of this bill is that the triggers don't kick in until you hit 5,000 border crossings a day. That's 150,000 a month. So that's not a reduction from what we need to have on the border.
All right, Sergio, my position is probably more in line with Crenshaw. Let's put a tourniquet on the problem before we heal the wound. Something is better than nothing. Progress, not perfection.
Absolutely. I agree with Congressman Crenshaw. I think both parties, this is something that we want. We want to decrease illegal migration. I think this bipartisan, I've stated it over, without bipartisan support, we're not going to progress anywhere. We're going to have this World War I trench warfare within the parties and not get anywhere on security measures for the border. Biden's plan provides 1,300 extra Border Patrol agents, 130 immigration judges, and those judges don't mess around. And then also high-tech technology to detect fentanyl. Fentanyl doesn't come across by itself. You're going to also get criminals, drugs, ancillary drugs, and this is a measure that needs to be passed with bipartisan support. And those Republicans that are aligning themselves with Trump truly are not public servants. They only care about their re-election, and that is shameful.
Marcus Davis, yes. Your frustration and exasperation on this topic is well established for anybody who watches this program. Yeah. What do you think of what's going on?
This reeks of incompetence and impotence, right? The incompetence of the left to be able to get the border closed, and the impotence of the right to stand up against their fearless leader, Donald Trump. It makes no sense that we get no progress as citizens from either side of the aisle. And yes, this bill probably shouldn't pass because, it's, as Bob mentioned, it's probably trash. It's probably got layers and layers and layers of things that have nothing to do with this. And it's probably taking American citizens, hard-working American citizens, taking their money and sending it over to Ukraine or sending it over to Israel when we have desperation here in our own borders.
All right, Doug Miller, when we competed against each other, I used to say to myself, I wonder how Doug is going to report. And that hasn't changed now. I really want to know what your take is here.
It's interesting. You mentioned Crenshaw because that's exactly what I was thinking when I saw this going down this week. So interesting. There's Crenshaw outside the Capitol talking about Donald Trump, taking down Donald Trump once said famously that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose any votes. I think this actually could cost him some votes. I mean, I think with some, you know, there are a lot of more moderate Republicans, and let's face it, Crenshaw can kind of afford to be critical of Trump because he's from a more moderate Republican district. I think, you know, it's a, you know, but it's interesting. I think for some moderate voters, they might look at this. If the message can get out that hey, Trump's standing in front of a deal. If there's one thing that I think Trump supporters are more passionate about than Donald Trump, it's the border. And I think this actually might cause some problems for him.
All right, the best for last, Holly Hansen.
Well, this is just another example of a situation where the government is not enforcing laws on the books, and they're distracting from that problem by offering new legislation. And it may have some good things in it, but as Bob said, it's not transparent. We don't know what's in there, and until we do, it's really hard to take a side on whether or not that should be passed. I will note that the president does have the ability to do something about the border. He did something about it on day one, as Bob said, and in the I think it was the last month of Trump's administration, there were 17,000 illegal immigrants released into the country. In last December of this past year, it was over 191,000. So contrast that, they do have the ability to enforce that law, and they're just not doing it.
Okay, we're going to close with Bob because last week our friend Bill King called this all political theater. We've got at least 14 governors showing up in Eagle Pass today. What do you make of that, Bob?
Well, what's happened in Eagle Pass, you can call it theater if you want, but it has changed the national discussion on this issue, and it's forced President Biden to take action. He sent Mayorkas and Blinken to Mexico in December. They took action. They made an agreement that they won't tell us what the agreement is, but now Mexico is taking action and removing migrants, which caused the number of apprehensions in January to drop by 50% from what it was in December.
All right, real quick, Marcus, does this get better?
Yeah, no, it doesn't get better. It's going to be more of the same.
All right, we're going to leave it there.